Go.
Okay, let me have your attention. We'll get started. This is a classic bait. A guy by the name of Bob Clouser is the guy that kicked this pattern off. It's a simple fly. It only uses a couple of materials. If you have not seen bucktail, this is an example of bucktail. It's just a white-tailed deer. The white, often you'll see this is the actual other side of a whitetail. Sometimes they'll dye it white, but for this particular fly, some of these you'll see a little bit brown in it. I spent some time cutting up chunks of bucktail so everybody would have both colors. Again, somebody got the blue out of our materials up here. I used some of mine. You can get this bucktail in about any color imaginable. A lot of people like to tie this with chartreuse. Chartreuse is another popular color. Most of this stuff should be from the back end of the bucktail. Okay, let's get started. The first thing you got to do is attach those dumbbell eyes, and it's a little tricky getting them on. I'm going to lay a thread base. The key is to not get it too far from the eye, but you want some space between the eye. You want a little space right here because we're going to wrap some bucktail over the dumbbell eye, and it helps form the head. So I'm going to leave some space there. I'm just going to put in a little bit of a thread base. Get rid of my tag end here. And the trick is, I'm going to lay that on, and I'm just going to hold it with my thumb. I'm going to try to make a couple of rounds, and then I'm going to go in front. I'm going to try and go behind. And in fact, I've got that too close to the eye, so I'm going to try to back this up and move it back a little bit. I'm going to move it back just a hair or two. Okay. I may have it a bit too far back, but I've got that attached, and you want it horizontal, and you can tell that it's the back side is kind of leaning toward the bend of the hook. I'm going to try and force that forward. I can do that by going forward and pulling it back. Just put the pressure on it. Now I've got it in the position I want. And it'll lock that in nice and tight. Do you notice that we're putting the eye on the top of the hook? We do that because I want the eye on the bottom so that the hook is riding up, makes it much less snag proof. Okay? If you put it on the other side, it's going to be pulling through the water with the hook down. You want the hook bend on the top. Okay? Now, the next step is we're going to attach some bucktail. This particular piece of bucktail is one I shot in Kansas 2 years ago. And I've got some blue here. Seriously. Keep in mind, when this fly is going through the water, it's going to be upside down. It's going to be reversed. So if you think of most fish, which side of the fish is the lighter color, the bottom or the top? The bottom, okay? So if this is going to be the bottom, what color ought I probably to put on first?
Blue.
The blue. Because I want white on the bottom. It's going to be on top of the blue, okay? Right about where I want to tie that in. I'm going to lay those up there, And I'm going to make 1 or 2 easy turns until I've got that attached. And you can see, if I move this the right way, that's pretty close to the length that we want for the tail. Now I've got to do the same thing. I've got to put a layer of white on there, and that's going to be pretty close. So I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to lay that on, make a couple of real easy wraps, and then I can cinch it down good. Okay? Now that I have both colors on, the body of this fly is no more than, I'm going to make some pretty wide wraps back to the bin. I'm going to try to fairly evenly space those. And then when I come forward, I'm going to try and crisscross those a little bit. I'm going to bring that back up to the dumbbell eye. And if my white has turned, now you can still twist your bundle, because I want the white on top. Okay? Now I'm going to build my thread base up a little bit behind that eye, and I'm going to half hitch that, because now I'm going to just turn this fly upside down in my vise. Okay. Now that my eyes are a little wiggly, I will solve that before we are finished. Okay, I'm going to make a few more wraps on those eyes to see if I can't make them a little bit more solid. If you get carried away with your figure eights, sometimes you'll end up where you're opposite where you want to go. If I were to finish this wrap, I have to wrap toward me. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure my wraps are still going away. Okay, and I'm going to leave my bobbin right behind the eyes. Okay, now we have the same 2 colors that we have to put on what will be the top of this fly. I noticed the pictures in the book are kind of reversed. They have the white on the top, both the top and the bottom. I don't know that it makes a lot of difference. I'll do what the book is doing, and I'll put some blue on so that it's more similar to the pattern in the book. Now this time, I want this to be the length of the other stuff, and I'm going to tie it in right behind the eye and try to keep my ties pretty close to the eye. Okay? Now I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to grab that clump in front. I want to cut this, and I'm going to cut it at an angle. And I don't want to get it up in my eye, but I'm going to cut it at an angle so that when I tie this in, which I'm going to do next, do some easy wraps. I'm going to make sure I've got that attached good in front of my eye, and the bulk that I have to work with, that's going to form the head for this fly. And I don't have to get it completely in right now because I've got the white on top. But I'm going to leave my thread hanging behind the eyes again. And to wrap this up, I'm going to have to put some more white in. Lay this on, and I want it as about the same length as what I had before with the blue. And that's going to be pretty close right there. So I'm going to do a couple of easy wraps to make sure I got it connected so it's not going to go anywhere on me. I'm going to pull that up like I did the blue, and I'm going to trim that at an angle. And notice where I've got it trimmed, it's still back behind the eye. If you trim it too long, it's going to get in the way of your eye, and it'll cause a problem. So I'm just going to wrap this. This takes a bunch of wraps now to form the head. I've got to build that up in front of the bucktail a little bit so I don't have such a sharp angle. I'm going to do some figure eights here and build up that head a little bit. I'm going to build it up a little bit behind the eye. I'm going to build it up a little bit in front of the eye. Until I've got, you know, a decent appearing head. And when I've got it as good as I think I'm probably going to get it, I'm going to go back behind and I'll whip finish this off. That material that Mac likes is also sometimes useful. One of my examples, I did some of that UV goop to build up the head a little bit, but what I would probably do if I did not use that, I would finish it off with a little bit of head cement, which I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little bit of head cement on that so that I know that those knots are going to stay tight. And you do not want to get it in your eye of the hook. I got probably more goop on here than I need, but you get the idea. Now see how far off I am with the length. Yeah, not bad. But there is a Clouser Minnow. Okay, pretty little fly.
Yeah. Come on.
If anything, I may have a little bit too much bucktail on this one, given that the eye is such a small eye. But this stuff will sink. It'll get wet. It will not float like the bucktail that's on the front of the bucktail. There is a Clouser Minnow.